I have been planning my dream build for over 3 months. After planning and building and waiting for more parts and building some more, it is finally time to get out on my local trails and put this thing through its paces on the maiden voyage. I'm wearing my club ride apparel since this bike has a split personality between cross country and trail. I just started wearing club ride, by the way, and it's literally the most comfortable riding clothes I've ever ridden in. So I'm gonna head out and wear the GoPro on my chest and talk through what it's like to ride the dream build for the first time. The transition spur is 100% ready to go. Got the water bottle on, the Garmin. We are ready to take this thing out. And we have entered single track for the first time on the transition spur dream build. I do have a multi-tool, very handy. I've never headed out on a maiden voyage on a bike and didn't stop to make at least 3 to 5 adjustments. But I really took my time building this up. Morning. I can hear the spokes of the Industry 9 wheels popping already. Brand new, so new spokes will pop as they settle in. Also can feel sand just coming up on my legs because the tires are brand new, and good grief, the trails are crowded today. Ready to get back on the trails in the back where there's a lot less people right by the trailhead. So normally on a Saturday I would have headed out early, but it is about 11:30 because we took my son to the bus stop. He is heading to Spain for a month for a study abroad program. SRAM axis is already shifting really well. I can already notice the seat tube angle being a little bit steeper. I'm pitched just a little bit more forward when I'm pedaling than I was on my cross-country 9er. It's just something you really only notice the first 5 minutes, then you get used to it. Adjustment number 1. Saddle fore and aft. I'm going to slide it back just a little bit. All right, that feels better. Maybe that will be my only adjustment. Man, the dog days of summer have arrived. They hit yesterday. It's like the humidity just settles in here and you stop and start pouring sweat. And it's threatening rain today. It's supposed to rain later. Skies are looking pretty dark right now, so I hope that it holds off. That would really suck to get rained on. Man, I can tell you already, this bike is lively in the corners. No surprise, due to the Industry 9 wheels. Rest in peace, my old riding buddy. It's been 6 years. Sean Smith. Shout out to you, Sean. Miss riding with you. Sean was hit by an inattentive driver right at 6 years ago this month. That's why if you see a bent towards safety on my channel, talking about things like the Garmin Varia and other ways to stay safe on the road, that's why, my friends. Don't want to ever go through that again or see that happen. All right, on to happy things, maiden voyage. It's been a while since I've used a dropper post out here. I really like a dropper post, even on cross-country trails. Whenever I get out of the saddle and start going downhill, I just love dropping it so I can kind of crouch low in these corners right here. It makes a big difference. KS dropper post is running really smooth. And by the way, I think the biggest thing I notice about transmission, SRAM transmission, is just being able to power through a shift. It is so ingrained in me to let off slightly on the pedals when I shift. I noticed it even more than I did on the Smuggler that I had in my demo fleet for a while, because that bike was more trail bike focused. This is more cross country, where you are powering out of a corner. Especially on climbs like this, where you may come around the corner and the trail gets steep. You want to keep powering and keep the power down on the pedals and shift. Ooh, the brakes, I seated them in, but they still have a little ways to go. It takes a ride or so to really get the brakes dialed in. Didn't have the usual bite they have coming into that corner. I brake pretty late into some of these corners. So far so good with the 170 cranks, no pedal strikes, despite this bike having a pretty low center of gravity, which again is why this bike handles so well. Just made an adjustment on the rebound of the rear shock. I actually realized I forgot to do that. I set the sag right, but forgot to set the rebound. What I do is I kind of come off a curb or just do a rear wheel hop, and it should cycle one time. One thing I totally forgot to bring on this ride that I always bring on a maiden voyage is a shock pump. I thought about it when I was driving over here, and it was just one of those days where it just takes forever to get out the door. And I was like, I'm not going back. Now I set the sag, but it's always nice to have the shock pump with you. I am getting full travel on the shock. Now I do have a hip pack on with 2 water bottles and 1 in the frame. So I'll lighten up a little bit, but I might need to add just a little bit of pressure to the rear shock. I'm gonna ride about 3 hours today and come back out tomorrow for a couple hours probably. All right, now it's time to start really pedaling this bike hard like a cross-country bike and see how it does. And the harder you push these wheels, the better they feel. I am really a fan of 120 millimeters of travel on a cross-country bike now, because you can stay in the saddle and just pedal over stuff more than you can. Now you do have to be wary of pedal strikes on this bike. I have not had any pedal strikes yet. I've had a few pedal taps that would have been strikes had I had longer crank arms. So glad I went with the 170s. But yeah, you could just kind of stay in the saddle and pedal, and of course when it goes downhill it's got more control. Had a little pedal tap right there. Had to do one micro adjust on the rear derailleur. Was not shifting into a harder gear quite as quick. It's really cool. All you do is hold down the axis button and tap whatever shifter, you know, it's going slow in. So the upshift, just tapped it twice, and that does a little micro adjust. Same thing as tightening or loosening a cable. Liking the transmission so far. Really like it. Definitely a learning curve for the setup. It's a whole new way of setting up a rear derailleur, but you get the right instruction from the SRAM video. It's not hard, it's just different. Really liking this Öhlins fork. It'd be really cool to see a company like Transition spec an Öhlins as an OEM fork. I'd like to see that. I want more people to experience how good this fork is. They're not cheap, but man, they ride well. I heard an alert come through on my Weather Channel app. I didn't want to look at it. Do not want to get rained on this first ride. We've had lots of rain the last week and a half, close to 4 inches. Oh, there's a tree down. First one. So yeah, about 4 to 5 inches at my house, which is not too far from here in the last week and a half, but trails are in great shape. They needed some rain. Conditions are loamy now. This is really nice. Obviously you can get too much rain, but these trails can handle a lot of rain. One thing nice about transmission or electronic shifting in general on a mountain bike is you can hit the button twice for a quick downshift, so easier gear. On cable actuated, you can push the lever in a little bit further, but it takes a little bit more concentration to do that. On axis, you can just do a double tap of the button or a triple tap and know that you're going to get 3 gears or 2 gears. I realized about an hour into the ride that the seat post has not slipped, which has been an issue on my last 2 transitions with a 1-up dropper post. So I don't know if Transition have addressed the issue or if it was an issue with the 1-up, but this KS dropper post has not slipped. Oh my gosh, another tree down. Detour. Second tree down. You know, after I saw those first few riders, like 3 or 4 people in the very beginning, I have not seen anybody else. I think everybody else was smarter to get off the trail for the rain cane. That's the price we pay for incredible fall, winter, and spring riding, is summer weather where the humidity is so thick it feels like you're swimming through it, and then thunderstorms that can pop up at a moment's notice, despite what the Weather Channel says. Oftentimes, if the Weather Channel says 30% chance of rain, it means it's going to rain on 30% of your ride. Those of you who ride in the Southeast know that that is not far from the truth. Still loving the transmission. Lots of shifting you do on these trails. A lot of this is just constantly up and down. I'm really liking this Race Face bar. So it's a 5-degree up sweep, 8-degree back sweep, and it's a 20mm rise, and it's an 800. You know, I thought about maybe cutting it down, but I don't think I'm going to. It feels really good, especially when I get up into the mountains with more rugged terrain. It's going to be better, a wider bar.
I have kind of broad shoulders, so I like a wide handlebar. Probably a little bit wider than I need, but still like it. So I'm gonna wrap up this ride at about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I hear some thunder in the background and I don't want to push my luck too hard. I'll wrap it up with one final thought about the Transition Spur that I didn't really talk about yet for this particular bike. Is, for those of you who don't know, the Spur uses flexible seat stays. There is no pivot in the back, but it is an engineering marvel because it's plush. It has a good pedaling platform. Like I feel just a really solid pedaling platform. I can just push hard on this bike and it does not wallow. It's a really nice feel in pushing hard. It does make maintenance easier, less pivots to deal with. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up my maiden voyage on the Transition Spur Dream Build. I know I had a lot of random comments throughout the video, but a lot goes into a dream build. A lot goes into a bike. There's a whole lot of different things you can talk about with bikes. So I'll end it here, and thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video. Cheers, everyone.